Why is that so good? Why did they move like that in real life?
I don't know. What's up?
We're recording.
Nathan's so over it.
But Nathan is the mic on.
Yeah, Nathan's the mic.
I'm pretty sure it's good.
All right, welcome to take 3 of season 8 of the F Movie Podcast. Listen, I'm gonna help the boys out, and I'm gonna rap god this shit real quick. We're not gonna go full quickie, but I'm gonna hit it really quick. The movie we're doing is what is it?
It's The World's End.
The World's End. Thank you. I literally don't know. We've updated the wheel. The wheel before had every movie listed on it. Mason held us at gunpoint and said the N-word or something. I forget what joke I made 2 videos ago. But now we have very poor descriptions of all the movies that we're going to watch.
Which is funny.
There's also some TV shows on there now.
Also, there's TV shows, and there's also a Hangout sesh on that one. I hope we spin that
there's a
one.
Hangout session.
Yeah, that one seems really fun. So anyway, we're talking about At World's End.
Different movie. At World's End's different.
God, cut it.
Just World's
Let's
End.
just do a new one. Let's do a new one. We're already 3 in. What's 4?
Mason, what's this movie about?
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, the
I know
whole
Simon
gang.
Pegg
Anyways.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
you know him now.
Yeah.
A guy who grows up after high school. He was the king of the high school, blah, blah, blah. He had this gang of friends, and he used to go to the pubs, blah, blah, blah. 20 years later, he
Golden
wants
God.
to get them all back together to do a pub crawl, which is 12 pubs long.
Golden Mile.
The Green Mile. Anyways, and yeah, just crazy stuff happens about halfway through after the gang is back in the hometown doing the pub crawl.
The past 2 reviews we've talked about the first half of this movie before it turns on its heel. Spoiler: there's a bunch of fucking robots that are replacing people. It's kind of like The Faculty.
It's replicas.
Yeah,
Replicants.
replicants.
I hate you all.
Which is it?
I hate you all so
There's
much.
no can't in replicant.
And there's no replicants in Highlander.
Yeah, there
As
is.
much as you might think that there are.
Directed by
There is.
Scott Ridley.
Scott Ridley is my
Scott
boy.
Ridley.
Don't get that reference because that
Yeah,
was
this will come out after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have an inside joke. Yeah,
Yeah, we are so checked out of this review. We're so sorry. I know we're starting a new season with this, but
Buffet of Bland and the actors are terrible.
okay. The actors weren't very charismatic, and I feel like it was very jarring. Pierce Brosnan pops in, but he keeps his shirt on, so that kind of reflects on my score later. Mason.
Yeah, I think that this is just a good like buddy type movie that like I don't know, they haven't seen each other is supposed to be the idea in 20 years, and whenever they finally all do get back together, they all have careers, they're big boys in their professions, and yeah, they might not mesh super well. But Simon Pegg, which is the main guy, is so insanely like immature that he just never leaves that like mindset.
Well, and for the record, this was something that I meant to get around to, but I keep forgetting about it up until then. This movie definitely had room to hit drama on a dipper note too, because Simon Pegg has come out very openly and talking about alcoholism problems and stuff like that. So I wonder how much of this is actually written from genuineness and then put on a comedy spin into the movie.
I mean, the only thing that he was really like
His
all
wiener's
about-
out, Price.
Oh God.
We gotta
Cut
write
it.
this for not children.
Take 5.
Keep going. Alcoholism.
Alcoholism. So I think that could have definitely played to like a deeper drama to it, and then in typical Simon Pegg and Nick Frost style, they're like, hey, how do we recreate Shaun of the Dead but less funny?
Exactly.
Every movie
This-
they've made.
This movie is like their
Yeah.
3rd or 4th hit, if you want to call them that. Shaun of the Dead mainly being their biggest one, followed up, I would honestly say Hot Fuzz. I just,
Hot
after
Fuzz
you
is
said
the
that the
next
other
one.
day,
I
I
like
was
Hot
like,
Fuzz.
I couldn't remember the movie. I've seen it, but I can't remember how good it was. So
It
I'm gonna
wasn't
watch
Kind
that
of
one.
similar to this one.
It wasn't very good. It was much
it's
more
the
close
same
to this.
thing where it's just like a normal seeming small town that has a dark turn.
Then it
Yeah.
blows up. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there like a cult? Somebody lands on like a little tower structure and gets impaled
There's a
in
little
Hot Fuzz.
church. There's a little model church.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's a particularly memorable scene from it. yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Funny moments from this movie include the time they walked into a bar. They talked about it all kind of being, gentrified or Starbucksified, and then they go to the next bar, which is called
The Happy Familiar or
The
the
Old
Old
Familiar.
Familiar.
The Old
yeah.
Familiar.
And they walk into the next bar, and it looks identical to the bar they were just in. That one did make me laugh. I won't lie. Any other good laughs in this movie, Nathan?
I mean, I feel like there were some chuckles here or there, but none that like I actually can pick out.
No belly
memorably.
rips. No belly rub. No, yeah.
Definitely not that kind of
No,
one.
it doesn't hit that hard, but every now and again. There was another one, and I'm trying to remember what it was. So somebody bantering while I'm thinking about that.
Unfortunately, this movie didn't make me laugh. I mean, I know I seem kind of over it because this is our third time doing it. But
Yeah.
Mason, I got kind of heated, and now my energy's coming on.
That's all you gotta do is
It's the bracket.
outlast it.
Yeah.
We know, yeah, you've got to fatigue them. That's,
Yeah,
what we
that's
got.
it.
I don't last too long. But it's just like it tries going for a lot of different things, and it just didn't do any of it for
I
me.
feel like we still just keep talking about the characters, but the story itself, whenever it finally takes the turn, is really
Probably worth
pretty
talking
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought it was really jarring, and like Dylan said
Oh,
in
yeah.
take number 2, that like it didn't seem like there was a lead up to that. Like after it, like there was so many telltale signs that this was going on, but until then,
Well, so
Yeah,
I've got
really not.
I've got a question for you guys. So just to say, there's robots. They don't like to call themselves robots because
Yeah.
robot means slave,
Slaves,
etc.,
yeah.
etc.
It's like the N-word of the robot.
There's such a strong case for Simon Pegg's character being one of them.
Yes.
Because he is like
Gary?
generated as like basically it's like he only knows what has happened. Like he only knows like his life
His program's
from
context,
that
right?
moment,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
From like high school.
Onwards.
So
Yeah.
I thought what was going to happen was that he was sent out as like a sleeper agent out into
Yeah.
the world to
Mhm.
bring these
To
people
get
in
society into this little town.
because I didn't know. Well, I didn't really know what their goal was ultimately, but I had a feeling that Nick Frost's character,
Yeah. Andy.
Andy, like it's because at one point they like one of the big like machine towards the end like says Andy
Mhm.
as the first thing he says, and I was like, oh, this is going to be the moment that they reveal that they were just trying to get him here for some reason
Right.
before like just revealing the whole actual thing of like, oh, we're trying to bring you into the galactic fold, and
Mhm.
y'all are just
And you guys are the most poorly behaved planet, which
Yeah.
fair.
And speaking of like Andy and the robots, like that had one of my most eye roll jokes in it was near the end when Andy's chasing after Gary and the girl that he was dancing with previously is like, I want you inside me, Andy, and he's like, I'm gonna go in your tummy, and then he just just punches her through and gets his ring back. It's like
That man is married, and I
No.
respect the commitment to it. But
he's
um,
divorced.
no, he's
well,
not.
it's just separated,
Separated,
not divorced.
Oh.
But-
because they get back together at the end of the
Yeah.
movie.
They do tip their hand a little bit with the guy with the earpiece,
Little bit.
Martin.
Mark
Freeman.
Freeman. Yeah, he is
He-
obviously a robot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't a robot obviously until he started to like get out of the bathroom a little bit afterwards and
Two-thirds
like buddy up a little bit more. Like,
Hasn't been there all
and
the time.
He also like had the little
The
like
birthmark.
birthmark.
Oh,
on his
yeah,
face
that's
again.
true.
So I remember the other funny part of it that I felt like was worth noting was when they're all in the smokehouse after being chased and the crowd has been thinned a little bit at this point. They get to the smokehouse and they're like, well, whose name is above her? And it says Gay instead of Gary because somebody had scratched out the R.
that was a good one.
That was a good
Yeah.
one. That
You
one was,
are pulling.
no, that
Well-
one. I think I had a.
Another point towards the Simon Pegg expectation that he was going to be like
The
one of
ones.
them.
Yeah.
His cell phone worked. The
Nobody
guys,
else.
so
Yeah,
like the
nobody.
guys like little earpiece worked, and those were the only two out of the group that
Yeah,
had
because his mom
working cell
called.
service.
Right.
Yeah.
So that to me was also supposed to be tipping that Simon was actually one of them as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even notice either of those things. But like, I mean, it
Because
makes
remember,
sense.
at
Yeah.
one point they all start trying to like make calls, and none of their
None of
phones
them.
are working.
Do you think that was like a plot point at some point and they just ended up scrapping it by the time they got to like.
I mean, as much as it seemed to be hinted at, and there's a lot of stuff that you would say had weak hinting, but to me that was a very strong line of hints. Yeah, it does seem like there was maybe going to be something there, and they just decided to shoot a very different ending. I
Right.
mean, I
Well,
guess
the whole
it's-
movie is to turn it on its head. So like, even when you
Right.
think you have the movie figured out,
Yeah, but
they have the
the
opportunity to
thing
do that
is,
or just leave it.
Those kind of hints is that you have the movie figured out, and they just
Yeah.
didn't actually go with it.
That's hints that make sense retroactively, but during the moments I'm not picking up. Like,
Yeah, I'm not picking those
Be-
up either.
the only because whenever the movie first gets introduced as a set of robot, it's because what's his face, Andy or whatever, rock bottoms the dude through a urinal, and the entire time I'm sitting here thinking, is this kid deaf? Like because he's just not
you
like
think
saying
he's mute
anything
or something. or-
right?
yeah.
And at one point he says something, and I'm like, okay, not mute, maybe not deaf. I'm intrigued, and then his head explodes into blue, and I'm like, No, I no longer know what's going on.
Yeah,
Was my
I thought I knew.
I mean, depending upon the angle and the fact that it's a urinal, maybe it was
Right.
a urinal cake explosion.
True.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. But I'll promise you, after watching 30 minutes of This Is the End, followed by 5 minutes of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, I had no idea what movie I was watching anymore, and then I didn't double again.
Picking up on Nathan's thread of the movie not knowing what it is, at the end of the movie when they're talking to the mass control unit or whatever,
Yeah.
You can say just the
that
mastermind.
is probably one of the worst climaxes I've ever seen. I mean, I don't understand like how them arguing and bantering with this all-knowing
Drunkenly.
thing.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like
Yeah.
them arguing with it gets him to just be like, yeah, I'm annoyed with bothering you all, so I'm just gonna like peace out of here. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm kind of done with dealing with everybody, and then just like blows everything up. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that part was maybe the worst part of this entire movie. Just
Yeah,
because
and
it is like, it's this all being, intellect, and it's just like some belligerent drunks are just
Right.
kind of sort of like jawing with it. And then it's
Well,
just like, fine.
It does hint to the idea that this is like it's having increasing problems everywhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they say at some point that there's like Gary Kings everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people just like him probably causing trouble in
Like
all
a
the
virus or a
different sites,
parasite.
right?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, kind of.
They're to be fair, the one like metric argument I feel like they make in that is like, yeah, and how effective are these? Like how many people have you had to replace? And he's just like,
I don't want to say.
let's say 80%
Yeah.
or so, like, yeah, 20% of you guys are pretty civil about it. And it's just like, thoughts. But yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of the movie. At various points, there's like hot cheerleader, young girls, they get fisted. Not important.
I will say there was one thing I did like in this movie, and it was after they had the bathroom fight, which the bathroom fight was also bad. Every action scene in this I thought was terrible. I didn't feel the weight of any punch. I didn't think like any of these people.
He watches one John Wick and he expects
I didn't.
this to
I
be
didn't think
Yeah.
any of these people should have been able to fight the robots at all, except maybe Andy because he's so big. But anyway, that's beside the point. Right after that, I actually really liked the song choice that they used right after that to like in the montage that they
Freebird?
did.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the song was, but it was just like this weird like British kind of song where they're like going through all the bars, like trying to keep up a face. Like I don't remember the song, but it was very fitting and it was easily the highlight of the movie for me.
Well, okay, so talking about like fighting them, that was one of my favorite parts. Was like in that bathroom scene, like they kind of got their asses kicked. I mean, like they ultimately were able to take
They had
care
zero
of them.
casualties.
These robots
Well,
had
because they rose.
these robots got nerfed very hard, very quickly throughout the film. They
No. So towards the end, so that was going to be my
They're
question.
just flicking the heads off of them.
No,
Yeah.
because
They're
is
just
it
like
is it
goo.
because they're getting stronger or like better at fighting, or
No.
is it because
No.
like
Because they're getting drunker.
Yeah,
maybe because they're
like-
also
No.
getting more courage with the drunk, or was it just because they actually finally know what's going on?
If I'm going to try to give you any argument for
I-
power scaling,
it's
that-
not a power scale. It's just like I like that direction that they took, where it's just like, you know what, like yeah, we took care of 5 of them back in that bathroom. We took care of 15 more back at that other bar, and now they're just like gaining.
They're
My-
just grinding XP.
Yeah,
I feel like the movie's just like it's like running, like trying to run at the beginning, and then like it starts to kind of hobble, and then it just falls completely on its face by the end of the movie. And I think that explains everything
So-
about what happened.
I think the robots weren't trying to kill them.
No.
Is the thing.
They're
Because
never
you
trying
notice
to
they're
kill
always trying to grab their head.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they end up doing to one of them whenever they like convert him.
You ever
somehow.
have
or whatever.
that happen to you like at a bar or something like that? It's so annoying.
Nathan, keep going.
So I think that's why it was easy for them to fight them, because they weren't actually trying to fight them necessarily. Except for the twin that put like the legs.
The
on.
legs,
yeah, the
like
legs
the
on.
line.
That one was clearly trying to fight them.
Yeah, they
Now-
were mad.
But they also introduce another kind of alien, which is the weird
Pyramid head.
alien
Yeah.
Kind of.
robot.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
is completely useless. Makes one like
That's
swinging
just a murder
downward
bot,
attack
yeah.
one time.
And the
on
largest
one of
man in
them.
the movie makes the most nimble move.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like slid underneath
Right.
them for like 8 yards and like popped right back
It was
up.
very bad CGI.
Now, I will say that the twins with her twins' legs as arms did awaken something in me. So credits to the movie for that. That's a whole new Google search I had to figure out how
I
to
thought
type in.
that was going to be a moment where somebody actually died because she
'Cause they
had
had, like, a bomb.
Those things were going
well, she had-
scary fast
she had
too.
heels on
Yeah,
too,
that
so I
would've
was
been-
like, this is going to be like the Hot Fuzz scene where the
Yeah.
guy had the church impaled through
I remember
the
that.
top, like through
Yeah,
his
so
throat.
it's gonna be
Like
healed.
I thought
Forever.
that's what that was about to be, and I was like, oh man, here we go again. Simon Pegg just making people uncomfortable.
Yeah, so anyway, that's a lot of the movie. Let's get into Fat Thing Perfectly Fit. The shape of the movie I can now talk about. It's been 8 seasons. My contract lease is over. How you do it is if the movie's too fat, you say it's fat. If the movie's too thin, then maybe you wanted more. Okay, great. Fat movie, you want less. All right.
That's a good way to
Perfectly
put
fit.
it. That was beautiful, Dylan.
All right,
Perfectly fit.
You got your one for the season.
He used it early.
Price.
This movie is, of course it is. It's like it just whinges for too long on just things that don't matter. And to me, like again, I said like if nothing works, like then it's too long. And for me, nothing in this movie worked. So, fat.
I think that this movie might be a little bit chubby. I know I keep mentioning all of these movies, but those little cut scenes and like those like breaks and those little like
The montage scene.
yes, like the beer being poured in the tap and every single bar, like that kind of
so
shit.
sick.
I like that stuff, and they are known for that, like the face
Oh, yeah.
panning back and
Right.
forth, like that kind of stuff.
And they make you know it.
Yeah.
Yes, Price. That's what I'm trying to say. they do that a lot, but I like those kinds of movies, and I like that they have a style. It's just like how Wes Anderson uses wide shots and like
Yeah, it
pastel
is.
colors.
Yes, it is. Oh
Yes.
my
And people are standing there, flat tone face.
Yes,
across
with
the
no
screen.
emotion. Anyways,
Yeah.
I like most of those scenes. If you had to cut anything, the ending to this movie is the silliest part. I don't like that the alien being is just like, you know what, I'm just gonna tank. And even like the end where like Simon Pegg has a new group of lackeys that are just like going
We
in
drink
there.
water.
Yeah,
we finally-
recreationally fighting the robot.
We're
alien
Mad
things.
Max at that point.
Exactly,
with
yeah.
robots.
They're the Bad Batch, even.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, it's definitely a little chubby. If anything, the ending of this movie is what really does take it down for me. I would reassess the ending pretty well.
I'm gonna say this movie's fat because.
Restate the question. You just did. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was like, what? Not even. So it's our 4th review
Yes.
doing this today. Don't do that to me. This movie's fat because this movie spends too time telling you it's one movie that it's not, and by the time it gets to the other movie, it's dragging its feet still. Like they're still hitting. Like they figured this out around bar 5, 6, something like that. They're not even halfway through the bars. Maybe they're halfway through the bars.
I think they're at number 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because like it's still ridiculous that he wants to go on and
Yes.
they're all not drunk yet.
Yes.
And that's when Nick Frost blasts those 5 shots. in
And
a
we
row.
still go to every. Now we don't spend as much time at every bar, but we still go to every other bar.
Yeah,
And
make sure
we're
to
about
say it.
halfway through the movie, and there's 2/3 of the narrative still left that we're racing through at this point. So, fat is probably the right way to go about it, but for me, it's like just a stronger editing thing. As everybody mentioned, the ending is pretty fucking bad. The ending and then the post ending was just like kind of silly. I don't mind Andy and his wife getting back together, and he's like, well, in the scheme of things, it just didn't feel like that these problems were that big of a deal.
That,
Like-
he was like,
That
it's,
makes sense.
it's a lot
Yeah.
easier to go organic when there's no food.
right. Yeah.
Who is it that he's telling this story to that even cares?
The bonfire
I
people,
don't like
right?
who,
Yeah.
like
That was just a
I just,
narrative.
yeah, but I don't like that. That
Who is he to
that
these
took
people?
me out of it so hard. It's like, who are you
Cares?
telling this to? They don't care.
I'm always surprised to see what things.
I was gonna
They
say
gave us
that-
lunch,
this
yeah.
is wild.
Yeah.
Because you're right, he is narrating the whole thing. Because
And there's like they pan to people like sitting there listening to the story, and it's like the way he's telling it, like I don't know, it just
Who
doesn't
are
feel
you?
like a thing that you're actually telling people as a story.
well,
You're just like
That
talking.
audience is like, why do we care about Gary King? Because he's like, and Gary did this, and Viserys did this.
Yeah.
Like, who are these
It,
people?
it
Who
does kind of
cares?
feel like
wait till I tell you about Pete.
if Andy is retelling this whole story,
Oh,
it does
man.
kind of feel like he's
Oh,
kind of
man.
just deriding like Gary, even well past the time of events he shouldn't be. Anyway, what's the shape of this movie?
I keep thinking Gary.
It's a mess. It's just a mess. This movie is
Oh God.
exactly what exactly what you would expect Simon Pegg to make.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you've
Track.
seen his other stuff, this is just another movie that he makes. And at some point, I guess you just don't quite hit the way that you did in the beginning. I'm not a huge fan of Hot Fuzz. I think Shaun of the Dead was all right for the time. I don't think it's that great, down the road. And this one is way worse than those. But it feels like it's one of his movies. There's like, the shots, the just the shape of the movie, everything about it just feels like it's so cookie cutter. It's like he's got a formula and he's literally just writing into his formula.
It's like
It's
which,
ad-libs
It's like
sort of,
he's picking he's picking
which
weird
sci-fi
subjects
element could I
and
plug
then
into the
merging
same
them
story?
together
Yeah.
into his formula for a movie.
It is a little bit like he got stoned and watched Blade Runner, and he said, "I think I can do that better." And
It sure
then-
wasn't Highlander.
Let Nathan
No.
go into a score. He's on a roll here.
yeah, go ahead and cue it up.
Man, I'm gonna go with a 4. Maybe I should go lower, but I mean it is kind of funny. It is surprising. It's so fucking cringe. The whole beginning of it is just like, man, like I don't want to be cringing as much about this as I am, because
Nathan does
makes
not
it,
like
it
cringe.
feels. It makes you think that you feel like you're somehow relating to this in a way, but you're not. But it still just feels so awkward. Yeah.
I think the only way you can relate to this is if you think that you are Gary King, which is
Right.
good, because I don't think anyone feels like they're Gary King.
So I found this movie
Ever.
really relatable.
Except for Dylan. Yeah.
I remember whenever I got out of a manic episode and left the mental hospital, and this is the first thing I did was go just
Go hang with the boys.
hang with the boys, get hammered. And
Relapse hard.
and that way I find it incredibly relatable. We're watching Dobby behind the scenes, if you're wondering what Mason's pointing at. That being said, it relates to a time that I don't care to want to reflect back on. This is 6. This is not a particularly good movie. It's not so bad that I would push it into 5 territory yet. It doesn't cross the line for me where it's like god fucking awful. I don't know. I have a higher threshold of cringe because I watch teen cringe, so that's like Dobby.
Yeah.
Can you not? And so the cringe didn't bother me. The bad writing did. The bad acting was like not so great. The dragging and narrative was not stellar. But I did chuckle at some of the stuff, and I don't mind Shaun of the Dead style storytelling, but nothing. It feels like there's Shaun of the Dead, and then there's everything else, and this
That's
is
a good point.
everything else.
Yeah.
But of this and Hot Fuzz that I've seen, I like this a little bit more than Hot Fuzz, I think.
That's how I am. I want to watch Hot Fuzz just to make sure.
If I
think I remember Hot Fuzz might
I
be
think
better.
the turn in Hot Fuzz is bad.
yeah.
It turns. It has like a kind of like some kind of funny setup, but then whenever like they actually go and confront the like cult or whatever,
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah.
The whole latter half of that movie is bad.
It feels like he doesn't know how to do a second half of the movie, right? The first half,
Like he knows that he wants a twist. It's like he
Right.
wants to be like a
Shyamalan.
funny. He wants to be a funny Shyamalan.
he wants to be Shyamalan tongue in cheek.
Funny Shyamalan.
Yeah.
That's
Which
good.
is,
I like that.
For the record, not the direction you want to take, in my opinion. But listen, he keeps getting to make these movies, so that
Ooh.
says something.
Lay me up. Am I going up?
No.
Right over the
There we
price.
go.
Nope. And Dylan's right. Like, this movie fails in its ending, and in my opinion, fails in everything else it tries to do. As I kept saying, this movie is a comedy and a drama, and it fails in both aspects. I didn't laugh. I didn't feel any of the dramatic moments. It took a lot of actors that I really like Simon Pegg. I normally do like. Nick Frost, don't have an opinion.
Pierce Brosnan?
Martin Freeman, I
Okay.
like a lot. Like, I've watched him
Freeman's
in
good.
many different things and always enjoy him. And I even like Patty Constantine, who plays one of the main characters in this from House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I thought maybe this movie would give me an inkling as to why I like him so much. That is not the case. He does nothing in this movie.
Soy Boy
This-
Bandicoot?
Yes.
This movie is just like, it's annoying, but it's also nothing. Like, I got done with this movie and I was like, I watched that movie and I didn't like it. It's not a like vitriolic hate like I have for a lot of movies that get a really low score, but it's also not such a bland watch that I would give it a 5, because I did regret my time with this movie, because I felt like it could have been so much more. Like, it didn't need that twist with the robots. They could have just expanded on the friendship premise and Gary King coming back. They could have, or just expand the robot section fully. Like, there are two, I don't care. There are two not realized plots within this movie, and they both are just awful. So I'm giving this movie, as Mason so pointed out over the phone, 1.5. It's not
A
down
15.
there. It's not down there with the ones and that kind of trash, but it's getting real close. I don't know why. Like, I'm surprised how much I dislike this movie.
Me too.
Because I remember I watched this movie before on my own because I own it. It's like in a pack of the Simon Pegg.
He literally owns this
Pegg.
film. He paid
Yeah.
money so that Simon
I
Pegg could
paid
make
probably
more
like
movies.
$1 at half price books for
I saw
it.
that. That was a Blu-ray. I saw it.
Blu-ray.
You're not paying $1 for any
4K.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, half price books. They have Blu-rays for $1. That's where I get a
Three
lot of stuff.
movies. You paid at least $3.
I tried
$1 per
Slumdog
movie.
Millionaire. I bought for
33
$1.
cents you paid?
And I hated that movie. But anyway, yeah, still 1.5. I watched this movie before. I'm like, and when Mason mentioned it, I was like, I think I've seen that movie.
He tried to hand out fake digital codes too.
He did. He's the worst kind of person.
What a terrible.
Nathan tried redeeming it, and this movie was made in like 2010 or
It was
2013.
made in
13.
2013, and the site said that it had been redeemed in 1999. It's like, I don't think your website existed in 1999, Universal.
You should sue him.
Yeah.
Go for it, Mason. It's your movie.
So when Nathan said that he's trying to be like a funny Shyamalan, I think that actually was perfect for me because I love those plot changes. I love it. Just turned on its head. You think you know what's going on, and then it changes. Like it's not that I want it from every movie I ever watch, but it is nice to see those things. And I wish more movies did that more often because otherwise it's just honestly a cookie cutter for whatever director it is or whatever from their previous acts. But
So if a movie is cohesive from top to bottom, it's cookie cutter?
no, not necessarily, but like formulaic, like you think I like teen dramas just because of the exact same stuff that happens, right? I do, but I really like Moonrise Kingdom because it also puts a whole spin on it.
But
Yeah.
like Fantastic Mr. Fox doesn't do that. Never Back Down.
Fantastic
sure
Mr. Fox
doesn't
is
do
way-
that.
Never Back Down is
Yeah.
the least
No, no, no,
cliche
no.
movie I've ever watched in my
I
entire
didn't say I
life.
love cookie cutter things. I'm saying I like different things.
And I like cookies.
I do too.
Love me some cookies.
Yeah. So what are you talking about?
So what I'm trying to get at is I do love the fact that this movie changed. It took a 180 and the hardest turn into the curve possible. And I don't necessarily think that they did it great.
And it hit the curve.
It hit the curve
Yeah.
hard, but it does change the pace a little bit because to you guys' argument, like if none of these characters are really all that friendly with each other, if they don't have a whole lot of chemistry, I'm glad that robots got introduced and that they have to be together and that they are moving forward with the plot because what the hell else are they going to do?
Otherwise,
They're
you're
screaming
gonna
at each other
watch
because they don't
boring
have a
movies.
car to drive the entire movie. There's a random through joke that just keeps happening with oh, who's sober enough? I don't care if I'm sober enough. Anyways, they're meant to be together for the whole movie, regardless of the chemistry. I just like that the movie did that to begin with. I like the change right at that halftime.
Did
I
you like
like
how
that.
it finished with that change?
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sure did.
I did think it was funny that he's had his car under Pete's name or whatever. for the
Yeah.
entire time.
And he kept running
alright.
into the
That part
officer.
was kinda
All right,
funny.
then he was
That
like, "Well, I
got
can't
a
get
chuckle.
Pete any more points on his
That's
license."
what I'm saying. Like
Alright.
these little through jokes that were
That was the one that made it.
I
think
knew there was
that's
one.
the British comedy coming out though. It's not just Simon Pegg. It's just that's just British humor.
Yeah.
They
but-
suck.
I know. But anyways, at the end of the day, this movie could have been a lot better. I'm still gonna give it a 7. I think that it's.
Ooh.
I still think that it's a really fun watch. And I'm not gonna lie, I was with you guys. I was rolling my eyes as hard as ever when the final light was yelling at him.
Yeah.
That was really dumb.
What do people think about this movie?
Oh my God.
What?
Audience score was right with Mason at 71% with
Ooh, Mason's a man of the people.
That's
with
ridiculous.
a tomato score of 89%.
Boo.
Which says to me that bots rated this movie. This was the first AI reviewed movie,
Yep.
and it loved it because robots
Because
were
of
winning.
blue
Well,
gum.
it liked it because
Blue
it
gum.
kept
I wanna-
trying
I
to
wanna
say
see
that
that.
robots
Okay.
aren't robots.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
that's
it's
true.
it's a derogatory term.
Alright,
That's
wait, why
true.
are we not-
Blanks.
what am I doing? Just
Oh yeah, just put it right in the camera.
I don't know if you can see it.
I don't even. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's.
That's
Spinning
fine.
it.
We're gonna have to peel it back anyway. So.
Alright, stand it backwards.
All right, and the
Announce it.
reveal.
It's my movie.
What? Oh.
Ah.
It is
What? Wait, no, it's
Dylan's
my movie.
movie. Hannah's pick.
Oh my fucking god! Already? Hannah steals my movie slot. Sad face. Well,
What is
movie
Well,
slot. Which one of you is it? Stay tuned for next week's episode.
You don't have the movie?
I kind of remember what it is, but I'm really bad with the title.
Yeah, and you
Oh
don't want to
my
have another
God.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't. Listen, I'm not trying to make you guys watch Pirates 4. Okay? Like, I don't remember which one it is. Anyway, so make sure to tune in. Hannah's going to have to figure out how to get a schedule on that one. That'll be a fun little problem for us to solve later. Also, make sure to check out our Raw review right here. There's a thumbnail for it because we definitely did it. Stay
No, we
tuned.
didn't.
Damn.
Yeah.
Scheduling
that's
issues.
happened.
Also, make sure to like the comments. Like the comments. I'm getting sloppy. In season 8,
I mean, you can like comment.
yeah, you can like our comments. We're going to comment on
We'll
below
comment
this.
on this one especially.
We're going to comment screaming on this video because we
Nathan,
did this
when you
review
edit
3
this,
times.
tell us to comment.
Yeah, let us. Can you get an editor note that says check the comments below? Hit the bell, because he scores movies too low, and
This movie deserved it.
and then you'll know what the fuck we're watching because I kind of forgot what we're watching. I haven't watched it either, so stay tuned. In the meantime, hope you're enjoying season 8. This is not indicative of all the rest of our content quality. Make sure to watch that other stuff. We normally do a little better than this, but we had technical difficulties. Thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in next week. Bye.
Let's hope we got all that.
It
Oh,
did.
God.
And then and it's not even recording.
my
It was
God.
on.
And if it's not
It
even
was on
recording,
photo
If
mode.
it did not, I quit.
I think I do too.
Nathan
Yeah.
quits.